Well, welcome everybody. We've got our wonderful Wednesday workshop, and I'm so delighted to introduce to you to my friend Margie Warrell. I've got your bio here, and I want to read this, and I tried to shorten it up like 5 times, and I just couldn't because you're just so amazing. So just grin and blush as I read this amazing bio. Okay, Margie?
Okay, I'll do it.
Margie had to find her courage many times since growing up one of 7 children in a rural dairy farm in Australia. Personal adversity, backpacking solo around the world, starting a business with 4 young children have all taught her valuable lessons on defying doubt, building resilience, and embracing change. A PhD candidate completing her doctoral studies in the interplay of power, leadership, and gender, Margie is a member of the advisory board for Forbes School of Business and Technology and a sought-after keynote speaker and lecturer, including at Columbia, Georgetown, and her alma mater, Monash University in Australia. Wait, there's more, okay? Described by the Wall Street Journal as a global leadership authority who gets to the heart of what holds people back. Her insights have been shaped by her work interviews with leaders such as, and I love this list, Richard Branson, Bill Marriott, Steve Forbes, Oliver Stone, and Marianne Williamson. She has co-authored 2 books with Stephen Covey, Jack Canfield, and Ken Blanchard. This is my favorite part. She has taken the path less traveled many times, living in multiple countries and cultures from Papua New Guinea and Singapore to Washington, D.C. An intrepid spirit, she has crossed the Sahara Desert, stayed in a Palestinian refugee camp, hiked the Inca Trail, swum with piranhas in the Amazon, and cycled across Beijing. Wow. So thank you for your time. We got this. Margie, welcome to the workshop.
It's awesome to be with you, Chester. And hello to whoever's joining in. And maybe if you watch this as a recording, I'm so glad that you're joining me. And I got to take you through a few little steps, little exercises over the next 30 minutes. Actually, probably we'll make it about the next 20, 25. But I invite you to ask questions and put it in the chat, and I'll be responding to those as we move along. So as Chester just mentioned, I've written a few books, and my most recent one is You've Got This. And I wrote that book because in my travels around the world, which came to a pretty grinding halt about 12 months ago, I meet so many people who let self-doubt call the shots of their lives and who don't trust their own ability to rise to the challenges that come along or even put themselves out there and go after what they most want. And so I want to just start by asking you, have you ever looked back and wished you'd been braver, wished you'd taken a chance, or wished you'd made a change, or wished you'd spoken up and said what you really thought, or shared feedback, or set a boundary, or said yes? Chances are you can, because we human beings are wired for safety. We're wired for comfort. We're wired to avoid the risk of rejection or failure or feeling inadequate in some way, not to actually take on more of that. And so I know myself, having stepped outside my own comfort zone countless times since my childhood, growing up on a small farm in rural Australia, that only when we dare to really trust in our innate adequacy to rise to the challenges that life inevitably brings our way, and we've all weathered an incredibly big storm together, but all in our own boats over the last 12 months. But I'm sure that right now you have your own challenges. I'm sure that you also have your own dreams and your own aspirations and things that you would love to do. But perhaps a little voice in the back of your head sometimes says, who are you to do that? Or what if you fail? Or maybe you tried and you did fail at something, and that fear of failing more, maybe you've internalized that and over-personalized that. And so I want you right now to grab a paper and pen. Maybe you've got one in front of you, and if not, I'll just talk for a minute. Go and grab yourself a pen and paper, because I'm going to get you to do just a really simple little exercise with me over the next 20 minutes or so. So have you got it? Okay, good. I want you to draw a Venn diagram, 3 circles, and they're going to overlap right in the middle. And part of today's workshop is to help you bring your bravest self to your challenges and to your ambitions, to your goals, those things you'd love to do, to help you show up with the courage that you need to thrive in life and to really rise above the many fears, the many anxieties, the many worries that all of us feel at one point or another. So, okay, you've got your 3 circles. Okay, in the first one, I want you just to write the word focus. What are you focused on? We're wired with what's called a negativity bias, and so often we focus on what's wrong, what's missing, or what we're afraid we might lose. So if I put myself out there, I'm afraid I might lose my reputation. I'm afraid I might lose money. I'm afraid I might lose a sense of belonging and people might criticize or reject me. And so often we put our focus on the things that we don't want. We invest energy in a future that we don't want to have. We think about all the worst case scenarios. And when there's a lot of uncertainty, it actually drives up our anxiety and also makes us tend to turn our forecasts of what the future might look like into fearcasts. We catastrophize. So getting your focus on what it is you can do, on what's within your control, on what it is you want to create, on what you do want your future to look like, not on what you don't want it to look like, is super important, because what we focus on expands. And what we're focusing on also tends to be what we become. If you're just focused on everything that you don't want to happen, you end up sort of living in this negative state. So I just want you to write down as simply as you can, and don't overthink this. I want you to write down what the highest intention is for your year ahead. Let's just focus on 2021 right now. What's your highest intention for 2021? If you were at the end of this year, just imagine yourself, it's 31st of December, you're looking back on the year that was, what would you love to have experienced and created for yourself? So write that down. Secondly, I want you to write down 3 attributes of the person that you need to be to bring that into a reality. So I every year start my year by really just sitting down going, what are my power virtues? I call them power virtues for the year ahead. What are the attributes of the person I really want to be, that I want to embody? This time 12 months ago, my husband got COVID and I was living in Singapore. I'm now living in the US, just outside DC, but I was living in Singapore, and in Singapore, everyone has to go to hospital. He got COVID, he had to go into hospital, and they thought the infection was in his lungs. Fortunately, he's made a full recovery. But I remember feeling pretty overwhelmed, and I sat down and I just thought, how do I want to show up right now? What do I want to embody? What are the attributes and the values that I really want to embody? So for you right now, I encourage you, write down just 3 attributes. It might be focused, it might be resilient, it might be purposeful, it might be grateful, bold, assertive, determined, tenacious, persistent, encouraging, patient, grace, faith, whatever words resonate for you. I want you to pick 3 words and just write them down. Because when there's a lot of things outside our control, and I know there's a lot of things outside your control right now, we have to really be intentional about doubling down on what's within our control. And one thing that's always within our control is how we choose to show up. How we choose to see the world, engage with the world. And yeah, I get it. You mightn't always feel bold and brave and confident and self-assured and determined and patient, etc. But by simply committing to showing up like that more often, it's like a muscle. You strengthen it. It's like gratitude. Chester, I'm sure, will tell you, the more often we practice gratitude, the more grateful we become. So write down your 3 words. And I encourage you after the workshop, put them on a sticky note somewhere, on your fridge, on your computer. And as you go through your day, as you go through this year, look at those 3 words and ask yourself, what would I do right now if I was being brave or assertive or grateful or accepting or inspiring or a leader? So use them to keep coming back to it. Stanford University did a study, and they got 2 groups. One were primed before they went into a negotiation to really connect with their strengths and their values, and the other group weren't. And they went into this negotiation. The group that were primed to connect to those attributes that to the attitudes they wanted to really embody, they had less self-doubt, they stayed more confident, and they negotiated stronger outcomes consistently. They called it attitude certainty. Well, I call it self-certainty. When there's a lot that's uncertain around us, we need to ground ourselves in self-certainty. I know that it's within my power, my control, how I want to show up. And so that helps when you're feeling those moments of doubt, coming back to, you know what, it's like an anchor. Okay, this is how I'm going to show up. It's like the compass that just keeps you, okay, this is who I want to be right now. Likewise, second circle. What's the story? Just write story. What's the story that I'm telling myself? So often we come up with stories about the situations we're in that shrink what we see as possible and that keep us from doing the very things that we have within our power that we're totally capable of doing. So for you right now, as you think about, where you're at and where you want to go, my guess is that you sometimes tell yourself a story that I'm not good enough, or I'm never going to be able to do this, or it's not fair, or it's their fault, or it's impossible. So just notice, what story have you been telling yourself about a situation? And now ask yourself, what story would I need to tell for me to feel braver and bolder? And my litmus test is if your story isn't making you feel more positive, more powerful, or more purposeful, then it's not serving you. And interesting, we've found in research that people who are focused on what they can't do and tell stories that make them feel like a victim or cast others as a villain, victim and villain stories, they actually have a reduced peripheral vision. They literally can't see out to the sides as much. It's the same in our lives. When we're focused on what's wrong and what's missing and why it's not fair and I'm a failure and I can never do that, those stories that hem us in, they actually keep us, even our brains aren't as creative. We don't come up with as many ideas on how we could respond to a situation, how we could make things better. So I want you just right now to ask yourself, what's another story I could tell about this situation that would make me feel more positive or more powerful or more purposeful? You create your stories, and then your stories create you. And our stories tend to trigger and amplify the emotions we feel. And when we're stuck in a story that leaves us feeling less than, that has us doubting ourselves, it actually keeps us in that, we become in that self-fulfilling prophecy and keeps us from actually realizing how untrue it is. In You've Got This, chapter 2 is entitled Doubt Your Doubts. So often we treat our doubts as though they're the truth. And the truth is that most of the things we tell ourselves aren't necessarily the truth at all. You don't see the world as it is, you see it through your eyes. And so I encourage you, as you think about the things that you're wrestling with and you're struggling with, just think about, where is my story actually keeping me stuck, holding me back, fueling doubt, or fueling a sense of blame, or making me feel powerless or resigned about a situation. So you create your stories, then your stories create you. And what would expand? What would be possible for you if you moved into a space where you were telling yourself a story and you're going, you know what? I know that whatever happens, I can handle it. Or I know that within the situation I'm in right now, there is a gift for me. I mightn't be able to see it right now. Maybe it's well and truly hidden from view, but I'm going to trust. I'm going to operate from the belief system that I'm exactly where I need to be to learn what I need to learn and to grow in ways that I wouldn't grow otherwise, maybe to even discover strengths or sharpen talents that I wouldn't do if I wasn't in this specific situation. Life is always talking to us, and often we don't really like what it's saying, so we ignore it and we just keep pushing on. But if you've been stuck in a situation and it just keeps coming up again and again and again, just consider that doing more of what is already not working isn't going to make it suddenly work. And often when we're in a situation and we don't like the result we're getting, we go back and we just try and change what we're doing. But actually, you know, as a coach, I get people to go all the way back and go, what are the underlying stories here that are keeping you in this cycle, that are keeping you from actually breaking out of it and creating whole new results for yourself, building way stronger relationships. Study done many years ago of people who describe themselves as chronically shy. They got them to pretend that they weren't shy, that they were the outgoing, extroverted, gregarious person that they often saw and thought, I'm not like that at all. And they got them just to pretend to be that. They were college students. And at the end of every day, they did a debrief. And they did this for 2 weeks, just pretending that they were more outgoing and confident and assured and friendly. And at the end of the 2 weeks, every single one of those students reported feeling more confident. By practicing the behaviors, they actually build confidence. And so often we think, well, I'm going to wait until I'm feeling brave or until I'm feeling confident before I do this. Don't wait for courage. Don't wait for confidence. Don't wait until you know you can't fail, until you've totally got this, before you act like you believed you did. Often the believing follows the action. Do first, believe second. Okay, third circle, action. Life rewards action. And so often we don't take the actions that we need to take because it's uncomfortable. But what if you embraced discomfort? What if you embraced vulnerability? What if you embraced that nervous, sick feeling in the bottom of your belly, or the tight, dry throat, or the tight chest as actually a sign that you are growing into your potential, a sign that you are on center stage in your own life? I can't tell you how many times over the years before getting onto a stage to speak, or even doing virtual speeches as I have in the last year, I've had, a bit of a sick feeling in my stomach, like, and the little voice pops up and is like, who are you to do that? That little imposter syndrome. I just wrote a Forbes column on this yesterday going, who do you think you are? Sooner or later, people are going to realize you're not as smart as they think, or not as knowledgeable, or not as fill in the blank as they think. And yet I've learned that if I give those doubts and that negative noise in my head the reins of my life, I would never have done the best things I've ever done. I would never have had my 4th child, that's for sure. And likewise for you. What would you do if you just embraced discomfort as a prerequisite for your own success in the big game of life, as a prerequisite for you to grow into all that you can be and all that you can do and make your unique mark in the world? So one of my favorite mantras is train the brave. Courage is a muscle. The more often we do those things that are uncomfortable and that scare us and that we go, oh, I'd rather just stay home on the couch, the more often we do it, the less scary they become over time. And then the things that were once scary, like going to the gym, if you haven't been for a long time, I did a pump class last week, haven't done one for about 10 years. I was very sore for a few days. And I did a second one and I was a little bit less sore. Well, I know if I keep going, I'm going to be less and less and less sore, right? It's the same when it comes to living bravely and operating from that mindset that I've got this. The more often you operate from that mindset, the more you come to realize, I actually do. I really do, when you defy those doubts. So firstly, train the brave. And secondly, prioritize what empowers. You might have heard of that rocks and sand analogy. What are the rocks? What are those things that when you do them, they expand your bandwidth to do everything else better and they help you feel braver? For me, it's writing in my journal in the morning, reading wisdom literature, taking time to connect to the God around me and within me, things that really ground me to the deeper source of power within me. And so for you, what are those things that help you show up better? What are those things that expand your bandwidth? So prioritize what empowers physically, mentally, emotionally, practicing gratitude. Chester obviously has a wealth of wisdom on what it is to live from gratitude. And spiritually, like getting on purpose, connecting to what is most meaningful to you. And so with that, I invite you just to think about, well, what would I be doing? What are the actions I'd be taking if I was going to embrace discomfort, train the brave, and just put myself out there, operating from the belief that I've got this, even when I'm not 100% sure that I do. I'd love you just to write down on that piece of paper a couple of actions that you would take. Maybe you'd make a phone call to someone, reach out to someone you're not sure if they'll reject you. Maybe you would you'd get online and write something and share it with the world. I don't know what you would do. Maybe you'd take on a goal that you've been holding back from because you're unsure if you have what it takes. What I have learned is that the sooner we start to operate from the belief that we have everything it takes to do what it is that inspires us most, that calls to us, to really heed that siren call of ourselves, of our true selves, the sooner we come to realize how little reason we ever had to doubt ourselves. So with that, I really invite your questions, and I'm looking forward to more of them. So first one, what will you do now that would make you uncomfortable? I'd love to hear what you would do. I can't tell you how many times over the years I have asked myself that question, what would I do right now if I was being brave? And the answer was one that I was like, oh man, I don't really want to do that. But I kind of do, but I really don't. A few years ago, I got invited to Necker Island in British Virgin Islands, and had a few days with Richard Branson. And I had the opportunity to interview him, which was an awesome honor, and an incredible man, and had a lot of fun at the time. And I was in that conversation about what would I do if I was being brave. And for me, that answer has often been something that has really challenged me in many ways. I started running Live Brave weekends, despite my fear that what if no one else comes? I took on writing more books. I started running programs globally. I launched a podcast, things that, you know what, it's easier not to do them in the short term, because then I don't have to risk failing. Then I don't have to risk feeling vulnerable. But the question is, what do you put at risk if you don't do them? So,
Margie, yeah, I just wanted to jump in and say, I love this. I love this so much. And if I'm half of what everybody else says, I've already got, my 2 pages of notes, my circles, and all of that. And I love this idea, especially we can kind of work backwards, this idea of prioritize what empowers you. I love that. And I think a lot of this has to do with, what are your daily rituals? Like, how do you, we had a guest on one of our LinkedIn Live show, and you were one of our favorite guests on LinkedIn Live, by the way. and it was, he said, what do I do to get in motion every day? What's that first thing? And I was reading this great story of military people. The first thing they do is they make their bed.
Oh yeah. That book is on the shelf just here.
Yeah. And isn't that great? and tell everybody, why is it so important that soldiers make this perfect bed at the beginning of the day?
Because you've started the day strong. It's start the day as you wish to continue the day strong. Already you've started the day by doing something with excellence, something you can be proud of. And it's and Chester, as you know from that book, it's called Make Your Bed, and is simply starting your day. I think not necessarily. I mean, you mightn't want to make your bed, but more so start your day with intention about how you want to proceed through your day. And for me, it's reading something that really connects to the highest part of me, right? I mean, I do make my bed, but I'm not sure it's made quite as perfectly. Right.
Well, Margie, what I loved about that? The guy says, and even if you've had the worst day ever, you come back and you've got a great made bed, right? Well, we got a question from Nicholas here, and I love this. He says, how do you differentiate unrealistic ambitions and bravery? And I love this, because you sometimes just set the goals so high that you can never win. So is it unrealistic? I'm being brave, and yet I've set a goal that's unattainable. What's your recommendation?
You know what? I think it's really important to set your sights on whatever inspires you. And if what inspires you is something that seems unrealistic, That's okay. It's actually not about the goal, achieving the goal that matters. It's who you have to become in the pursuit of it. And as humans, we thrive most when we're working hard toward meaningful goals. So whether or not you ever build $1 billion business or sell 1 million books or, I don't know, whatever fill in the blanket is for you, it's actually who you become in the process. And so there's a difference between courage and recklessness, which is taking foolish risks that can put us or others, at risk, something that really can hurt our well-being. But if you've got a bold goal that really inspires you, go for it. I see lots of people saying, I want to change 1 billion lives. Mother Teresa said, like, her intention was that no one would die in the world feeling alone and unloved. She failed at that. She totally failed. Martin Luther King, I have a dream that every child will be judged by their character and not the color of their skin. He failed at that. But they are people we know because they lived incredibly noble, impactful lives that inspire us today. So it is the goal, to quote Robert Browning, the goal, if reached or not, makes great the life. And so I would simply say, go for it. But in the meantime, chunk down your goals into more realistic goals as you go along. Don't try and climb the mountain if you haven't left your house for a year. Build up in bite-sized chunks so that you don't get overwhelmed as you come out the gate.
Yeah. Here's a great one. Tracy, we want to inspire you to finally pitch that show, get back to speaking, and write that book. So, part of her ritual could be, I'm going to set aside the first hour of every day to write.
Awesome.
Develop that ritual. Now, Gemma's got a really, where did Gemma go? There was a great, here we go, Gemma. Whoops, I keep going to the wrong one. Poor leadership style and culture. How to be brave enough to challenge and feedback honestly. This is in our book, Anxiety at Work, that's coming out in May, that uncertainty of how will I be perceived if I give honest feedback. So what encouragement or what counsel would you give Gemma around that?
Gemma, I've had some pretty up close and personal experience with this, and cultures
that you have
that talk the talk. We're inclusive and we want everyone to be empowered, and actually massively penalize people when they do. So obviously your work culture, I don't know what it is, but recognizing that there are things that we just feel we have to do, but we can do them in intelligent ways. And so it may be that instead of, you have conversations, you be very thoughtful in who you have those conversations with. Who do you know you can trust to have conversations with, being really specific with your examples, coming armed with solutions and ideas. And of course, I always think leadership begins with self-leadership. How are you showing up? Are you demonstrating the traits of the kind of leader that you want to be? Because you may be part of a massive organization and it may be a huge task to think that you're going to change it. But that doesn't mean you can't change your part of it, your team, the area of it that you're operating in. And so I talk a lot about creating cultures of courage and in my corporate work, and building that psychological safety. But even on a team, even if you're not the boss, you still can help create that sense of psychological safety for others by being someone that others feel safe around, that encourages others to be braver and to be candid and to build what I call loyal dissent.
I love that. I knew this time was just going to fly by because your energy just makes the clock race. So tell everybody where they can find your book and find out more about you.
Oh, okay. Well, awesome. I look forward to connecting with you on whatever social media that you hang out on. But yes, my book is You've Got This, and you can get that on Amazon or wherever good books are sold. And of course, I just welcome you to also pop over to my Live Brave podcast, which I am going to be relaunching. I've had a break since moving continent, or to margiewarrell.com.
Excellent. And follow you on LinkedIn, I'm guessing, is a good place to go as well.
You bet. I look forward to that.
Well, listen, you have been beyond delightful. I don't even mind going 2 or 3 minutes over because your energy is so contagious. Well, one of the things that I love about what you're talking about, Margie, is there's so much ambiguity in the world. There's so much uncertainty. And there is a lot of talk about resilience. And I think, that Venn diagram really helped me to put things in priority. And I hope that all of you who have been listening, sketch that out, be inspired, get more information, follow Margie. And I would get her book, You've Got This. It's incredibly empowering. And as I have done today, and you have done today, surround yourself with good people. Surround yourself with lots of Margies. And I'll tell you, your day gets better in a hurry. And not only that, and Margie, chime in, when you're having a bad day, those are people you can lean on.
Yeah, absolutely. I say, be the kind of person that others would want to hang out with, and hang out with the kind of people that you want to be.
Excellent. Well, I love it. Show up. How are you going to show up? Thanks so much for your time, Margie.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me, and thank you for your encouragement.
You bet. MargieWarrell.com. Put it in your web browser and follow wherever you want. Well, listen, everybody, thanks so much for your time. We had quite the international audience today, and I love all the comments in the chat box. You know what? Thank you for your 30 minutes. Be well, and I hope to see you again soon. Take care.
Bye, everyone.